Hello? What's going on? I'm sorry for the suddenness. I was wondering how you are doing now. But then I heard something over the phone. I listened, and it was the sound of a baby crying. Who's there? I thought I heard a baby's voice or something. Yeah, actually, my brother and niece are here. They came over without warning, so it was a surprise. Oh, your brother and niece, huh? Your brother is actually outside in front of your house with me. My name is Noah. I'm a 30-year-old freelance writer. I've been married to my wife Maggie for 3 years now. She's currently on a job assignment and living away from home. It's lonely to have a job transfer just 3 years into our marriage, so I decided to follow my wife, but she surprised me by telling me that I didn't have to come with her. I was sad and asked her why, but she explained that she wants to save money in case we have a child in the future. If I quit my current job and follow my wife, my income will definitely decrease and it will be harder to save money. I understood that my wife made that statement considering our future, and I agreed with her. The location where my wife is on job transfer is in a distant region, so I have to take a plane to visit her. That makes it difficult to visit her often. Still, my wife contacted me frequently in the beginning, and she came home once a month. But work seemed to get busier and busier, and gradually she contacted me less and less, and came home less often. Therefore, I contacted her to suggest activities and outings so as not to be a bother. Hey, do you want to go on a trip somewhere during the spring break? I'm sorry, I have work to do. Even though it's a holiday weekend? Since I have work on the first weekend and the last Wednesday, I only have a real 2-day weekend. I don't think I can have fun on the days in between because I'll be tired. So I'm sorry. Let's meet again when I can come back and take it easy. Okay, I understand. I wonder when she'll be able to come back and take it easy. Even though I have those thoughts, I can't blame my wife for working hard and thinking about our future. So, all I could do was endure the loneliness. After that, the frequency of my wife's return decreased, and before I knew it, it had become about once every 3 months. The first time I met my wife after a long time was during the New Year, and it had been so long that it was almost the same as meeting with my in-laws. And after that, as usual, my wife was busy with work, and the next time I saw her was 3 months later. I had lived life like such that in no time at all, it had been a year since my wife had moved out on her own. Despite feeling lonely, I persevered and dreamed of the day we could live together again. I think the next time I can see her will be in another 3 months. With that thought, I endured the loneliness and waited for 3 months to pass. Honey, I'm home. Welcome back. I was very happy to see my wife's face. Since my wife comes every 3 months, the atmosphere is subtly different each time. There are times when her hair is completely grown out and needs to be cut, and other times when she looks refreshed, clean, and neat. I was looking with excitement, waiting to see what the atmosphere would be like today. I'll treat you to a feast today. Wow, that's amazing. I'm really happy to see my wife after a long time, so I thought I'd treat her to something nice. My wife happily ate it all up. You don't have time to cook all the time, right? Yeah, we end up eating out or getting food from convenience stores. Then make sure you get all the nutrients you need today before going back home. Yes, I will. After having dinner, it was finally time for me and my wife to spend some intimate time together after a long time apart. However, there was something that bothered me. My wife had started using birth control. Huh? Why are you using that? Well, it would be tough if I got pregnant while you're away, right? But we didn't use it before, right? I just started to feel like we should be more careful. Let's wait until after my work assignment is over before we have a baby. Pregnancy is hard with morning sickness and all, and it's not easy to be alone when you're not with me. Yeah, well, I was a little dissatisfied, but I couldn't help but agree with my wife's reasoning, so I decided to go along with it. I wish I could just have a child, and that my wife could get another transfer order from her company. I found myself thinking things like that. So, my wife went back to work alone again. After 3 months passed, and this time, my wife couldn't come back. Well, my wife was working at the transfer location for a 2-year period, so if I endured it for another 6 months, she will come back again. I just had to hang in there a little longer. In the midst of all this, my wife contacted me with a surprising announcement. Sorry, my job in this department has been extended for 1 more year. So, you're saying that your assignment will extend for another year? I'm so sorry. I was shocked by this news. It meant that I would have to wait another 1.5 years to be with Maggie. I couldn't bear that. Then I'll come to where you are. No, that's not a good idea. Why not? Because, as we discussed before, we need to save money for the future. Even if you say that, I'd like to be with you even more. I want to be with you too, Noah. but I'm doing my best. Please understand that. I was not convinced, but reluctantly agreed. Meanwhile, my brother-in-law contacted me. My brother-in-law actually lives within driving distance of the area where my wife works. When we went to a gathering at my in-laws' house this past New Year's, I had told my brother-in-law that I hadn't been able to see my wife very often, and it seems that he was concerned enough to contact me. My wife just moved out on her own too. I'm kind of lonely here alone with the kids, so if you want, you can come stay with me. You should meet Maggie here too. I was thrilled with the unexpected proposal from my brother-in-law. My wife lives in a company-provided dormitory, so it'd be difficult to stay overnight with her, but if I can stay at my brother-in-law's house, I can at least go see her for a little while. I talked to my brother-in-law and made a plan to surprise my wife by visiting during the upcoming holidays. Actually, I had never been to the place where my wife was on a job assignment. It wouldn't bother my wife if it was only for one day or something during one of the holidays. I asked my wife what she was doing over the holidays, and she said she had to work the first day, but would be home for the other 2 days off. I couldn't help but smile at the thought of ringing her doorbell and seeing her face. I eagerly waited for the weekend. Then, I got on a plane and went to the airport near where my wife lived. My brother-in-law picked me up in his car. Seeing my niece for the first time in a while was also very heartwarming and comforting because she was so cute. Despite the considerable distance from the airport to my wife's house, we arrived in no time while enjoying a pleasant conversation with my brother-in-law. We parked the car in the visitor parking lot of my wife's dormitory and headed to her room, but my brother-in-law stopped me when I was about to press the doorbell. I was surprised, and my brother-in-law was grinning. "Why don't we call Maggie now and ring the doorbell to surprise her?" I readily agreed to this mischievous proposal, so I made a phone call to my wife. "Hello? What's going on?" "Sorry to call you out of the blue. I was just wondering how you're doing." "Oh, I'm not doing anything special, just relaxing at home." "Is that so?" I imagined surprising her and couldn't help but grin, but at that moment, I heard something over the phone. When I listened carefully, I heard the sound of a baby crying, and I could also hear a man's voice comforting the baby. "Is someone there? I thought I heard a baby's cry." "Yeah, actually, my brother and niece are here. They came over without notice, so I was surprised." "Oh, your brother-in-law and niece? They're here with me, in front of your door now." "Huh? What kind of joke is this? They're here with me now, so it's impossible? You're saying such an unfunny joke, Noah." "It's not a joke." My brother-in-law realized from my lowered tone of voice that something was not right. He had rung the doorbell before I hung up the phone. Suddenly, we heard a louder cry from the baby than before, as if it was surprised by the sound of the doorbell. The door opened with a clatter, and there was a man we didn't know standing there with us. Who is it?" My brother-in-law answered. "I'm Maggie's brother." When my brother-in-law said that, "Oh, her brother, is it? Nice to meet you. My name is Terry." The man who appeared to be my wife's lover introduced himself. "What's up with you showing up out of the blue?" "Where's Maggie?" She's in her room." "Don't you know anything?" "What are you talking about?" "Well, forget it. Anyway, we'll come in." "Okay." My wife's lover led us into the house, looking uncomfortable for a moment. "Well, I didn't know she had 2 brothers. She told me there was only one." Terry said this, and led us through into the living room. "Go get Maggie." "Okay." Terry immediately went to call my wife, probably frightened by my scary-looking brother-in-law. Meanwhile, I looked around the living room and saw a crib and a baby sleeping. I felt dizzy at the sight and almost collapsed. "Are you okay? I'll support you, so please sit on the sofa over there." My brother-in-law took care of me and let me sit on the couch. Then, a minute later, my wife quietly came over here. Her face looked very tense, like a child's face before being scolded for doing something bad. I stood in front of my wife and slapped her cheek as hard as I could. "What's going on?" My wife was silent, rubbing her cheek and looking down. Then, Terry ran over to us, looking surprised. "What are you doing, brother-in-law? Are you saying Maggie did something?" Terry probably doesn't know anything, so I told him the truth. "I'm not Maggie's brother. I'm her husband." What? That's a lie, right?" "It's not a lie. If you don't believe me, I'll show you the proof at the city hall or something." When I said that, Terry was surprised and covered his mouth with his hand. "Maggie, is it true?" "Yeah, I'm sorry." "I can't believe it. That's why you kept postponing the wedding even after the baby was born, and now you're telling me you were already married?" "I'm really sorry. I even deceived you both, Noah and Terry." My wife bowed her head as she said this, but being apologized to like that didn't make me feel any better. "Just divorce me. You're making a fool out of me, keeping me waiting for so long and then having an affair?" Make sure you pay compensation for it too. My brother-in-law also glared at my wife as he said that. Okay, I understand. I had no idea. I'm really sorry. This is just ridiculous. Terry apologized to me in the same way. Well, you're a victim too. If you didn't know, it can't be helped. Plus, since you didn't know about the marriage, you can't really demand compensation. In fact, he's so pitiful, despite being deceived. He already had a child with her. I am truly sorry. Terry lowered his eyes and said that. At that moment, I noticed my phone vibrating. When I checked the screen, I saw that I had received a WhatsApp message from my brother-in-law. I was surprised when I read the message. This adulterer might know that Maggie was married. I'm going to leave my phone in this house on purpose, so can you put it on call and record me? When I saw the message from my brother-in-law, I quietly pressed the call button, put it on record, and put my phone away in my bag. Then, I calmly talked to my wife about what we should do from now on. From now on, let's communicate through a lawyer. This time, I'm only going to charge you alimony, Maggie, so make sure you pay it. Marrying you was really a bad deal for me. My wife responded. I am so sorry, she said, bowing her head. My brother-in-law started speaking. Noah, let's go. And we left the company housing where my wife lived. Then, I got into my car and moved to a nearby coffee shop to listen to what conversation my wife and her lover were having, with my ear to my phone. Then, a little later, I heard a conversation between my wife and Terry. I was really surprised. I never thought that kind of guy would show up without an appointment. I'm sure my brother influenced him with some weird ideas. Your brother is the worst. I thought you would soon leave your husband and be with me. It's a lie that you're working here alone. I'm with you here all the time. But I was amazed by your quick judgment and acting skills. If we pretended like I was single and deceiving you, then you wouldn't have to pay any compensation. That's smart. That way you'll pay less. Money is important for our future. You'll make a great husband, Terry. You're very different from Noah. I don't want to be associated with someone like that. I agree. That's rude of me. I was speechless. Then I was filled with an indescribable anger. My brother-in-law was furious as well. Terry knew that my wife was married. I decided to take action against my wife and her lover. My brother-in-law later claimed that he had forgotten his phone and went to retrieve it from my wife's place. At that time, my wife and her lover were in an uncomfortable situation and appeared to be attempting to deceive my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, who knew everything, was angry and said to them, "Both of you were acting, and it really pissed me off." Then, I immediately decided to hire a lawyer. When I played the audio of the conversation between my wife and Terry, the lawyer said that it was sufficient evidence. After that, things developed rapidly. First, I sent the audio data to my in-laws and my wife's workplace. I also sent a certified letter to her workplace. Then, I sent a certified letter to Terry, who was at my wife's house, demanding compensation. After doing these things, my wife called me acting like a demon. At first, I ignored it, but eventually I had to answer the phone. Hey, stop fooling around. Why did you send a registered mail to my company? And what's more, what's the point of even asking Terry for alimony? Terry thought I was single, so he shouldn't have to pay alimony, right? Huh? Why are you defending someone who deceived you? Normally, I thought Terry would be furious and demand compensation from you for marriage fraud and ask for damages. No, that's because we have a child together. To take responsibility, I decided to marry Terry. Oh, I see. Well, it doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Terry and I are getting married, so it would be troublesome if we both received claims for damages. I won't acknowledge the claims against Terry for damages. Unfortunately, that's not possible. After all, we have evidence that you and Terry were having an affair and continued to see each other even after you knew that. I haven't sent it to you yet, have I? The audio data we recorded of your conversation after my brother-in-law and I left. You were talking openly then. That's the evidence that allows me to claim damages from both of you. That's ridiculous! Don't think you can deceive people and get away with it. If you cheat, you have to pay the price. I will never forgive you. When I yelled loudly, my wife responded with a pitiful voice. Eek, she let out a voice. Then, let's handle everything through lawyers, I said, and hung up. Afterwards, my wife and her lover came to terms and paid the compensation. My divorce with my wife was finalized without issue. As for my ex-wife, she was cut off by her parents due to this incident. At work, she's known as a despicable woman who left her husband behind and had an affair while pretending to be on a solo business trip, even going as far as having a child with her lover. She can't quit her job because she needs to pay the compensation and support the child and her lover, so she's accumulating stress while working. On the other hand, I was invited to become an exclusive supplier by the manager of a business I had been freelancing for. I was thinking of focusing only on work after becoming single, so I accepted the offer. Now I work hard while dreaming of owning my own house someday. By the way, I still keep in touch with my former brother-in-law and we're on good terms. He supports my dream, so when I buy my own home in a few years, I plan to invite him over.